Just to give you an overview of what we're planning to do in the next hour, I'll start with an acknowledgement of country. Then, after some brief introductory remarks about population ageing, I'll hand over to our main speaker, Dr Saman Khalatbari-Soltani, to talk about the Healthy Ageing Toolkit. There will also be an opportunity at the end for a question and answer session. But importantly, I'd just like to start first with an acknowledgement of country. So my name's Fiona Blythe, and I'm coming to you from the Camperdown campus of the University of Sydney. And our Camperdown campus sits on the lands of the Gadigal, or the Gadi people. We recognise and pay respect to the elders and communities of these lands, past, present and emerging, who for thousands of years have shared and exchanged knowledges across innumerable generations for the benefit of all. We respect and value the knowledges, cultures and traditions of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. There is no place in Australia, water, land or air that has not been known, nurtured and loved by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Just a few housekeeping rules. Can you please mute your microphones when the presenters or another participant is speaking? And when your camera is on, can you please make sure that your face is well lit and that you're not covering your mouth to assist those who are relying on speech reading? And when you are speaking, please, can you just state your name before speaking? Obviously, one person speaking at a time is preferred, and please allow people to finish their sentences. And for those of you who want to make comments or ask questions, please try and keep them as short as possible. So there will be plenty of time for questions after the talks. If you have questions or comments, please either write them in the chat and we will raise them, or you can use the raised hand function yourself, whatever you prefer. Now, the session is being recorded, and relevant parts of the presentation talk, excluding the Q&A session, will be uploaded onto the website afterwards. So first of all, I just want to introduce CEPAR to you, because CEPAR is the centre from which this work has emerged. So the Australian Research Council Centre of Excellence in Population Ageing Research, or CEPAR, is a really unique collaboration between academia, government and industry, and it's committed to delivering solutions to one of the major economic and social challenges of the 21st century, which is population ageing. The research centre is based at University of New South Wales, with nodes at the University of Sydney, which is hosting the launch today, ANU, Curtin and the University of Melbourne. So, as I said, my name is Fiona Blythe. I'm a professor at the Sydney School of Public Health, and I'm a chief investigator at the University of Sydney node of CEPAR. I'm just going to set the scene with some comments about population ageing. So, if old age is the destination for all of us, how do we get there? Ageing has really only become a topic of research focus in recent times, and it's what we understand is coming from very diverse disciplinary insights. So we've got insights from people like me, epidemiologists who study populations around the world, and we look at differences between populations and also changes within populations over time. There's also interesting insights coming from comparative evolutionary biology. So how do humans age compared to other species on this planet? But it goes all the way through to molecular insights into ageing, because as I think we would all easily understand, ageing is a fascinating but very complex phenomenon. But importantly, humans have not experienced long lives until relatively recently in evolutionary times. And I've just put up these two graphs from a Nature article, not to go into any great depth, but to just point out, if you look at the graph on the left-hand side, which looks at life expectancy from the mid-industrialisation of the mid-19th century through to the new millennium, your chances of living an extra 5 years of life or 10 years of life have risen dramatically over the 20th century across different countries. And within this, on the right-hand side, there's a particularly interesting phenomenon, which is the rise of the centenarians. And although they're a small group in absolute terms, they are the fastest growing segment of the population, proportionately speaking. So we really are in a really remarkable age in human history. So just to summarise, most of the increase in life expectancy, which is leading us to want to understand how ageing occurs, but importantly, how healthy ageing occurs, it's really only occurred since about 1900. And to put this in a very, very long perspective, most of this increase has only been in the last 4 out of roughly 8,000 recorded human generations. So not only is the world getting older, it's also getting older faster than at any other point in recorded human history. But the stories are very different depending on where you are in the world. So if we think about population ageing in low and middle income countries, I think the dilemma has been captured very well by Alexandre Calache, who's a very well-known Brazilian epidemiologist and researcher and policymaker in the ageing area. The developed world became rich before it became old, but the developing countries are becoming old before they have ever become rich. And a brief illustration from a measure that's used by my colleagues in demography. So in France, it took 115 years to increase the percentage of the population that was aged 65 and over from 7 to 14%. But in Thailand, it's estimated that the same transition will only take 21 years due to the combined powerful forces of increases of life expectancy and changes in fertility rates. But if we now switch our focus to high-income countries, it's a very different scenario. And this quote, which has become quite well known, I actually tracked back to a British social anthropologist called Ashley Montague. So the idea is to die young as late as possible. So it really focuses it on this question about adding health to the extended years that we have. And there are really 2 themes to this story of population ageing in high-income countries. The first is that currently we are living longer, but for most of us, those extra years are not years that we are living in full health. Secondly, there is, as I've said before, this subgroup that's growing, people living beyond 100, and they're rapidly growing. So if we now change focus from this really broad high-level view crossing the span of evolution and around the globe, if we change our focus to individuals, then what is it telling us about what we need to do about understanding and promoting healthy ageing? And I think even if I didn't have the caption up, most of you would recognise Captain Sir Tom Moore. And this photograph was taken a few days before he turned 100, as he was completing his 100th lap of his garden to raise money for the NHS during the COVID pandemic in England. And a really remarkable example of the contributions that older people do make to all of us. So what do other centenarians think is the key to their long life? So I thought I'd just consult Professor Google, and this is what came up. And as you can see, there's just not one thing that older people identify themselves as what they feel was contributing to a long and meaningful life. So we have things that range from Jean Calment, who was for many years the oldest verified person in the world. And so she nominated olive oil, cigarettes, chocolate and wine. And in fact, she only gave up smoking a few years before her death. But we also have Alexander Imich, good genes and exercise, Duranord Veyard, healthy eating and doing 5 to 7 push-ups daily. I wish I could do that. We've got faith in pork and kindness. We've got eat less and live long. And we've also got Jessie Gallen from Scotland, who recommended avoiding men. They're just more trouble than they're worth. So all of this leads me to be really convinced that now is the time to unlock our understanding of healthy ageing. And I've just put this up because this was really my entry into really trying to reflect and understand what we mean by healthy aging. And the CHAMP study, which I've been involved with for many years as a chief investigator, is one of the many cohort studies for which we have information in the toolkit repository. And this really, I think, links nicely to what we really feel now are our contemporary views of healthy aging. So our contemporary concepts of healthy aging focus on functional ability, not just focusing on what people can't do, but what they can do. And by that, we mean those capabilities that enable people to move around, to build and maintain relationships, to meet their basic needs, make decisions, and to contribute to wider society. And so the question of how we create policy, physical, and social equity environments that enable healthy aging is core business for CEPAR. And with this, I'm going to stop my share. And I now want to introduce our next speaker to you, Dr Saman Khalatbari-Soltani. Saman is a social epidemiologist and a senior lecturer in population health here at the Sydney School of Public Health and at the ARC Centre of Excellence in Population Ageing Research. She completed her PhD in Public Health and Epidemiology in Switzerland, and after a one-year fellowship at Cambridge, she then, very luckily for us, came to Australia. Her research encompasses areas of social determinants of health, healthy ageing, health inequities, and the role of behavioural, psychological and biological factors and how they influence health inequities at older ages. So Saman, I'll now hand over to you.
Thank you so much, Fiona, first for the beautiful acknowledgement of the country and introduction and walking us through population aging. And hi, everyone. I am so grateful to see many of you taking the time to join the celebration of the launch of our Healthy Aging Toolkit. So I will start with a brief introduction about population aging that already Fiona very well covered. So as Fiona mentioned, people worldwide are living longer, and by 2050, 1 in every 5 people will be aged 65 and over. And if you look at the figure on the right side of these slides, you can see that up until recently, children aged 5 and younger has always outnumbered those aged 65 and over. And if you look at the blue line, you can see that the number of individuals aged 65 and over is predicted to grow substantially from 500,000 in 2010 to 1.5 billion in 2050. And as Fiona mentioned, this increase in life expectancy is not necessarily equates to healthy life expectancy. And this is a huge demographic shift which profound impact on health of older adults, their families, and the broader society. And as we see on our daily lives, while an 80 years old woman can enjoy a normal life similar to a 40 years old one, others might experience a rapid decline in physical and cognitive functioning and in need of care and more support. And as Professor Michael Mermet very well said, the experience of healthy aging is by no means uniform nor random, and health inequalities persist into old age. So what this means that we need to look at the holistic picture of aging process across people's life, thinking about all the factors that that actually shapes population aging. And that is why United Nations called this decade as a decade of healthy aging, which is a global collaboration with an ultimate goals of improving and promoting healthy aging for all. The United Decade of Healthy Aging highlights the requirement for a more comprehensive approach to addressing social and environmental determinants of health of older adults. And they also calls for guidance on data collection, both availabilities and gaps, which is the focus of the Healthy Aging Toolkit. But before I deep dive into the Healthy Aging Toolkit, I want to refresh your memory on how we define healthy aging. So one point is that there are different terminology in this concept, for example, successful aging, active aging, but the different definition is different. And in this presentation and in the toolkit, when we use the term healthy aging, we actually refer to the definition of WHO, which proposed in 2015 as the process of developing and maintaining the functional ability that enables well-being in older age. And functional ability refers to capabilities that enable all people to be and to do what they have reason to value. And functional ability comprise intrinsic capacity, which refers to physical and mental capacities, and also the environmental factors at home, community, and society. But just looking at this definition, the first thing that might come into our mind is that we need to have quite a lot of different measurements to be able to holistically understand healthy aging. And that is why cohort studies play an important role for evaluating healthy aging, its trajectories, and understanding the role of social and environmental factors behind any healthy aging inequities. And for those who are not aware of what cohort studies are, these are mostly population-based studies. Sometimes they are representative and they follow a good number of people throughout time and collect different measurements to answer their question of interest. Thus, these are a very valuable resources, and quite a lot of money and energy goes to establishment of every one single cohort studies. And there is a need for us to facilitate using these data. And people all around the world actually trying to facilitate access to these data. And as an example, Gateway to Global Aging Data brought together data from 12 sister aging cohort studies from different countries, for example, health and retirement study from United States, or English longitudinal study of aging from England. And that is why you can see using these data from these cohort studies in quite a lot of publications. However, we know that there are many more cohort studies available worldwide that we are not aware of. So we thought that there is a need to have an overview of what is out there. So to address this gap and also to respond and contribute to the UN Decade of Healthy Aging, we aim to identify and systematize aging cohorts across the globe, and also to provide a summary of key characteristics of available studies, as well as information on available measurements on socio-demographic, social and environmental factors, and healthy aging domains. And finally, to develop healthy aging toolkit to facilitate research. How we did this, we took a multifaceted search strategy. We searched for cohort studies in online cohort directories or repositories. We searched for cohort profiles publication, which are a specific type of publications by chief investigators of cohort studies to tell the world about availability of that cohort studies. We particularly search International Journal of Epidemiology and BMJ Open, which publish this type of publication, and also PubMed. We included all cohort studies of aging across the globe with a particular focus of study aging, and only included older population. but we also included studies that involve younger cohorts and birth cohorts if aging was a primary focus of data collection, or if a study objective evolved over a follow-up time with the aging of the cohort. Regarding the measurements that we extracted data to see whether these measurements are available in those cohort studies that we identified or not, we focused on some demographic variables, socioeconomic factors. We particularly also focused on social and physical environmental factors, for example, social support, social participation, social network, housing, and neighborhood condition. Regarding intrinsic capacity domain, we focus on physical, sensory, cognitive, and psychological functioning, as well as pain, sleep, incontinence, and self-rated health. And we also considered other health-related measures, such as disease, injury, and disability. And this is because we think that these are important factors that might contribute to aging process of individuals. And now about what we found. So overall, we managed to identify 287 cohort studies across the globe. And in this map, which is color-coded, and darker gray greenish color represent higher number of available cohort studies in that particular region. And as you can see, while Europe, Asia, Oceania, and North America has quite high number of cohort studies available related to a study aging, Middle East, Africa, and South America has no or limited cohort studies available. And when we look in more detail by which countries these data are available from, for example, in Europe, you can see on the top of the list is UK, so 24 studies in UK, followed by Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and the rest has 4 or less, and many European countries don't have data from cohort studies. And the same story for other regions. In Asia, mainly from China, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, followed by, and then in Oceania, 21 from Australia and 4 from New Zealand. In Middle East, mainly from Iran. In Africa, 2 from Nigeria and several more from other parts, but there are many parts that has no data. In South America, mainly from Brazil, and in North America, it's 74 from US, 12 from Canada. And when we look in more detail in data availability on different measures, for example, in this table, the red shaded part, it's actually represent the percentage of those cohort studies in that region that has that particular measure. So, for example, regarding socioeconomic indicators, you can see that many studies collect, actually all the studies collect data on education, followed by occupation and income. However, less than 1/3 of available cohort studies collect data on wealth and on property. And the same result regarding housing condition and neighborhood characteristics. So this shows both availability and also the pieces that we need to improve and collect data on. And regarding intrinsic capacity, the story is the same. For example, if you focus on physical functioning, you can see in the blue colors that most of the included studies have self-reported physical functioning measures. However, there is still room for improvement in collecting objective measures of physical functioning. So from these results, you can see the current wealth of data from cohort studies to provide evidence-based information to promote healthy aging and reduce its inequities, and also limited data availability in South America, Middle East, and Africa that needs to be addressed, as well as specific countries in Europe and other regions. So all of this information that we collected from the included studies, we created the Healthy Aging Toolkit. The QR code on the left can direct you to the Healthy Aging Toolkit. What is this toolkit? It's a free web-based data information repository to help facilitate research in aging. And if you click on the toolkit section, you can see this map, and it is very easy to use. For example, if you have a question regarding Australia, so you click on Australia, and on the bottom of the page, we added some filters. So for example, you can explicitly mention whether you are only interested in cohort studies with education and income data. And then you click on apply, and then you will see a list of studies with information regarding availability of the measures or not having those measures. And you can scroll to the right and down to see the whole list of studies. And I zoom out for you because that one was very small to see. So what a very interesting part of this toolkit is that you can also see the baseline aim of that cohort studies. And we also added a link to that study. And these links might take you to the website of that cohort study if available. If not, will take you to the cohort profile publication of that cohort study, and if not, it might take you to the to one publication using that cohort studies. And these are the resources that we try to find our information from. And we provided quite a lot of information in the toolkit webpage for you to make it easy for you to use. So if, for example, you go to the About section, we provided how to use and cite the toolkit. And we also provided a contact section. And this is because we are very much interested to keep the toolkit updated. So if there is a new aging cohort studies that we were not aware of, please contact us. We are happy to add it in. And if there is any information that we missed about your cohort studies, we are also happy to correct it. So the overall aim of the toolkit was to help researchers find relevant cohort studies to conduct studies into aging trajectories, and inequities in health for older adults. We also aimed to provide guidance on data collection gaps that need to be addressed, further supporting the global, regional, and national monitoring of actions, program, and policies. And so far, we managed to do that instead of the infancy of the toolkit. So we made a submission to the Australian Treasury on measuring what matters, and it directly impacted the Australia's first wellbeing framework to include more data collection and importance of housing conditions. And we also made a submission to the UN Decade of Healthy Aging Progress Report. And I also wanted to mention that we were a team. This was a very big project. It took us 3 years to get here. So I want to say thank you to Professor Fiona Blythe for providing support and advice throughout this journey. And also 3 students and research assistant, Yafei, Mariel, and Tabata, who helped me with data collection and data extraction. And also my sister as a graphic designer of the toolkit, and also Silkeways as a project management of the project. And without this team support, we could not be able to have this toolkit now ready for everyone to use. And also, I really wanted to say thank you to CEPAR and Australian Research Council for providing funding for this project. And thank you so much for your time to be here today to listen my talk. And I'm now happy to take questions, and please also feel free to contact me for further questions or query. I will now hand over back to you, Fiona.
Thanks, Saman. So thank you very much all for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.